Pros vs. Joes at-home edition is sponsored by Gigamon. Gigamon Threat Insight accelerates network detection and response by providing continual monitoring and analysis of your network. Utilizing high-fidelity threat detection and recommended next steps, Gigamon Threat Insight offers investigation and response teams a way to operationalize the critical data necessary to defeat active threats in the environment. Visit gigamon.com for more information.
You're not fooling me, not fooling anyone. Put your head in a cloud, so delusional. In the notion of all this emotional. Best be sure, and baby, let's get
Hello.
Oh, are we allowed to talk now?
Yeah, we can unmute ourselves.
Now they can hear me. Everybody can hear everybody, and everybody is happy. I am very low. You're very low. You don't tell me, I tell you. Yeah, there's no hot. Well, there's almost hot. And no, there was a hot mic because Casper comes in the room like, "What's up, everybody?" Like a bull in a china shop. This guy.
He's never had that said about him before.
Oh,
Never.
sweet.
This hour.
Sweet Lord. I'm still playing with the videos a little bit because there's 7 of you, and I really should have just like had an 8th. Maybe I'll put myself in there somewhere. Welcome to all of you to our little Pros versus Joes at-home edition of the only panel that we have of the weekend. Red, and it was originally titled Red versus Blue, but I mean, I think with the gamut of experience that we have on this panel, just red and blue, or literally whatever we feel like talking about. So don't feel the need to like have to stick to red things or blue things or whatever. I mean, we got time. We'll talk about whatever. I'm going to go through and introduce everybody. I'm going to make sure that... All right, everybody. What's that? I'm going to make sure that... All right, wait, why am I echoing?
It's because you're so awesome, Danny.
Matic effect.
Likes to hear himself talk.
Fucking apparently. Maybe I had audio
We
up.
can
somewhere.
unmute ourselves now.
Yes, everybody is safe. Everybody can unmute. You are watching a 38-year-old man do his best.
Rook, do you still have your tie?
Yeah, it's downstairs. So like my bin is kind of like has a bunch of stuff piled on it right now, or else I would have gone and grabbed it. Yeah,
What?
I know.
You gonna dress up for the occasion?
I didn't realize that Scott was 501st. So like now we're having a 501st reunion here.
Aw.
What garrison are you part of?
Imperial Sands, so the San Diego garrison.
Yeah.
For those who aren't aware, the 501st is a charity organization that does dresses up in empire appropriate garb to
Film accurate.
About accurate.
Film accurate. Thank you very much. Finish up. Come on, Derek. Tell us what the 501st is.
So it is a charitable organization that participates in community events and charity events, hospital visits, charity walks, things like that to drive awareness. And one of the big partners they work with is Make-A-Wish. So anytime a child with an illness, their wish is to meet Darth Vader or, be a Jedi or something, it's the 501st that shows up along with the Rebel Legion, I guess. But it's the 501st that shows up in all of those really rad outfits. And generally the ones like on the red carpet for the big movie events, because we have all the really good looking outfits. Yeah, Scott's got his bucket. He was just giving me crap because I don't have my bucket nearby.
Is that like when like the goons coin check each other? You guys check each other on buckets?
No,
Yes.
we do coin checks too.
And they do coin checks too. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just take coin checking to a whole nother level.
And Kevin Johnson from Secure Ideas has basically said, just here, have coins, because he's tired of me not being part of the 501st and not having coins. Whenever they like start showing, I'm like, could you just,
We have like, because we're just big nerds, so we're like inherently collectors, and so there's the coin culture in the 501st is very different than other coin cultures in that people just have coins made and then you just order them. So like I have like 20 coins and I only keep the ones for the groups that I belong to, but some people have like hundreds and hundreds of coins.
I've actually started a second shadow box over here to the side of nothing but 501st coins as they're coming through, because we get them from all over the place, not only from other garrisons, but also Albin Johnson, who started the 501st, always has charity coin runs going about cancer, about children's ailments, about all types of stuff. In 2019, the Old Line Garrison, which is in Maryland, the one that I'm a part of, raised 1.8 million by going out and doing charity events all throughout the year for Make-A-Wish alone. So 1.8 million to make wishes and dreams for kids in Maryland to come true.
We actually have like a dowry fund that we started because instead of trying to raise funds for specific things. Yeah. So instead of trying to raise funds for each individual event, we actually started doing fundraising. It was the first time you could buy 501st merch without being in the 501st. We sold 501st shirts and things like that to build up a fund that just went to 501st related or Star Wars related Make-A-Wish events. I just saw there was a question on YouTube about how to donate to the 501st. You don't. We raise money for other organizations. So, Scott, do you know if there's like a list of preferred organizations to donate to on the site?
If I could temper what you just said, you can, right? But if you go out to 501st.com, right, and submit that you want characters to show up, right, they'll put you in touch with your local garrison, and then you can negotiate with your local garrison about what the event is, how much the sponsorship is for, and that way it will go towards the 501st, right? And it will go towards all of these great events that we do throughout the year. It's the most Rook, to add to what you're saying, it's the most heartwarming and heartbreaking thing to see a smile on a kid's face.
Right? I actually didn't do hospital. Yeah, I didn't do hospital visits until I had a masked, we call them masked characters, the ones with like helmets and stuff, because like I couldn't keep it together. Like so I have an Imperial officer uniform, so just the hat, and I was like, no man, like I can't do that.
I can't tell you the number of times that I've been in this bucket right here, and I've literally been like, I've soaked my face because I'm crying that hard.
Yeah, you're wearing like a balaclava. Do you have an intercom system? Like I've had to turn my intercom system off because like, you can hear it. Yeah.
In case you've never seen inside one of these things.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it looks like on the inside. And if you notice the shape, how it's oblong, you can't put it on straight. So you have to put it on like this and then turn it when you're in the head. Yeah. So
it is technically the worst armor of all time. You can barely see or move.
You can't see anything.
70s disco boots. Whoever thought you'd actually have to be wearing them again? Oh, wow.
Yes, that's correct, ladies and gentlemen. Scott Lyons owns a pair of white 70s high-heeled go-go disco boots.
They're not white anymore.
This was before the 501st, though, right?
Well, I mean, he had to have an excuse to wear them.
Of course.
How do you think he got into the 501st? He's like, wait, I get to wear these in public?
No, but talking
he had
about
to give up the miniskirts, though, so
Hey! I only take pointers from the best of them who wear them. Okay,
bravo.
So,
well said.
Was speaking about Kevin. He's part of Squad 7 out of Jacksonville, Florida, and a lot of the people that work for Kevin are also in the 501st and have actually run Squad 7. Right,
dude. You go to his offices. Secure Ideas offices is like a museum.
Yeah.
There's 15 or 20 costumes lining the walls. There's memorabilia and like you're literally going, oh, you want to take pictures. You feel like you're at Galaxy's Edge in Disney. It's hilarious.
Dude, he built a Grimorian guard. You know the big fat pigs when Luke was dealing with the Rancor, the big fat pigs he built one of those. Do you know how difficult it is to build one of those? He's been working on a Chewbacca for years, and you have to hand pull
crochet
20 to 30 pounds of artificial hair into the suit. Like these suits are no joke.
And wear stilts. You have to wear stilts to wear.
You have to wear stilts with them too. And so like the stormtrooper takes on average 80 to 90 hours just to build the white stormtrooper. My sand trooper took 34 because I didn't care. I could scuff it up. I could get it dirty. Didn't matter. Right. Just let's build it. Let's go trooping, you know, let's put some smiles on faces. Right. And it's just fun.
Okay. On the other hand, Danny, we probably should talk about technology at some
So
point.
security.
I
No,
don't know,
this
it's a thought.
now everything else we're about to talk about seems super trivial.
It really does.
I mean, literally, we're talking about the infinite battle between good and evil, right?
Right.
And physical
Yeah.
security. Listen, if stormtroopers don't count for physical security, then half of us forged our CISSP requirements. Let's just call it that.
They can't hit anything. They're
they get
really badly
CPEs for
camouflaged.
I can't tell you how bad during this COVID crap I wanted to stand out on the side of the road in full bucket, holding a friggin' sign with a bullseye that says "I miss people."
Aw,
Like I can't even tell you.
do it.
Man,
So what are we supposed to be talking about, Danny?
I have no
Yeah, Danny.
idea.
We're gonna throw it to you.
Come on,
Uh,
host.
let's-
Yeah, you asked for this.
One job.
I can't believe I asked for this. You know what? This would have been okay had I not been like, "Hey, Casper, do you want to come on?" Everything else would have been fine.
You said the same thing to Quad League, so it would have been either one of us, to be honest.
I
with you.
wouldn't have gone on the 501st
No.
tangent, however.
True.
Oh no,
So-
you just would have talked about your hat and how it's been challenged by your dog.
I got yelled at for not having my hat, so I found a picture of it. I stuck it up. Actually, Blue Knight built this. It actually says "Blame Quadling" on it, and because he blames me for everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna get blame Casper tattooed on my forehead now.
I mean,
this
I
is-
mean,
Wrong cheek. Anyway, so
well, let me do introductions first because we just jumped right into this one. And I'm going to start in my very Brady Bunch-esque layout here and go from the top across and then down again. So, hi, Litmoose.
Hi.
Hi. Who are? What do you do?
What do I do?
Yeah, who are you? What do you do? Why are you here?
Who am I and what do I do? Well, I stare at computers a lot. I work as a technically I work as a digital forensics and incident response analyst, and I'm a consultant. So I work for everyone and no one at the same time. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it because otherwise I get in trouble. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Well, I'm super happy to have you here, and music aficionado, I believe.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and you
The
play.
background.
Yeah, you play. Well, so what do you play? Do you just play everything, or?
Sure. No, I used to be a professional musician. That just is fancy for. I used to get paid to do that. Violin is my main. I also play anything with strings. So I have a guitar. I have a MIDI back there. I have a cajon. So I have recording equipment. I'm just too shy to share anything that I make. So it all stays right here.
Well,
And then if you get me drunk enough at a con, I'll play for you.
you actually did a very
challenge
lovely,
accepted.
You played in the lobby of Shmoo last year, didn't you? Or
I
this
did-
year
I-
rather.
I did this year. What year is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, if you get me drunk enough at a con, I'll play for you.
All right,
So
I'm gonna make a note of that.
Shmoo was a good time. I usually play at shameless plug. I play at ShellCon every year, and they invite me to play specifically for our cocktail hour. So if you find yourself on the West Coast, it's a good time.
Well, thank you for joining. Easily one of my favorite people in the entire world. My son says hello, by the way.
I miss your son so much. He's so cute.
Back when she was on the East Coast, I took my son to Manhattan for the first time, and her and Ophir met us in Midtown and went to the Lego store. And yeah, he still talks about you. You go, can we go? Can we see Moose?
Yes, in 2 months.
Yeah, that's what he asked me. So he says hello.
Yep.
Well, next to
Can't wait
you,
to see him.
another native to my area and somebody who I never really get to see anymore. Very incognito online. Hi, Sigil.
And then my mute incognito. I was gonna say that has to be a lead up to me. Yeah, hey, so I'm Katie or Sigil. I actually was doing penetration testing up until recently, so I was on the red side. Just switched back to the blue side. I was blue before red, and now I'm blue again.
Interesting.
Honestly, I just love learning. So I started out in security engineering, then I did pen test consulting. So both a switch up from an internal team to the external view, working with a lot of different clients, and just now went to a really large global internal team helping out with threat management. So protecting and improving how we respond to threats. That's probably the best way of putting it. But yeah, and also I just kind of remain incognito for a little while. I'll work on that one day, but for now, still very elusive, apparently.
Yeah, I had to go through like 3 different levels to find you. Like your OPSEC is insane. Except
It's not, it's just forgetting to log in.
except I always know that I could just ask Cosmos, like, hey, can you find somebody for me? He's, oh yeah, she's right here. He's the worst narc, and that's why I use him to find people. Well, thank you for coming. And I'm gonna say one of my favorite people for all of these people, because they really are. And going to the next row, the man, the myth, the legend, glorious facial hair, Mr. Nick Carr.
Oh wow! Keep expectations low is typically the way I like to do things. So you're not doing it right.
Fine.
Hey,
just this freaking guy, whoever he is down here.
Perfect. Hey, I'm Nick Carr. Yeah, I also my background is primarily incident response. That's what I've been doing for like the last 10 years. Made my way through the government and intelligence community, and ended up at DHS working like third-party incident response with US CERT and ICS CERT, and then was doing that for the last 5 or 6 years at Mandiant, and then recently transitioned to a cloud security research role. So I'm having fun learning something entirely new, and it's been good. I think Danny and I worked together at 3 different jobs that he's had.
Probably. You're one of those guys that like I keep chasing around to different jobs. No, Nick is you were the author, correct, of No Easy Breach. You and, oh my god, who'd you do
Matt
that?
Dunwoody.
God,
yeah, Matt Dunwoody.
I'm sorry, Matt. him and that other guy. And you've done quite a bit since then. Like that's how long ago did you do No Easy Breach?
Ooh, that was the actual breach was back in 2014. If people aren't familiar, it's a pretty big APT 29 breach. It was really just pretty cool. They were doing a bunch of stuff that I think influenced a lot of security research, a lot of red team tools, a lot of stuff that they were doing back in 2014 before anyone else was. So I had the opportunity. It was really cool to respond to just a really creative attacker when they were innovating as we were going. It was neat to share that with people. Actually, first at ShmooCon, but just like reinvigorate and get people excited about incident response and have so many different things on one big engagement. It was cool.
Yeah, you were. That was one of my biggest influences, and I thought I wanted to do incident response, and then I realized that that's left to be. I mean, threat hunting aspect of it. That's what I've been doing for years, but actual in the weeds, IR, rockstar stuff, left to better men, better women, better them than I. But dude, thank you for being on. I really appreciate you making some time for this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I mean, I had to go through like a bunch of publicists and a bunch of like media people to get to him.
Cool.
Our marketing budget is now tapped, but he's here. It's fine. It's gonna pick on Nick the whole time. Next to him, also a legend in his own right. Incident response. I don't know, probably ex-head of the CIA for all I know. Mr. Jake Williams.
Yeah, I don't need a drone strike here. Let's not start. Let's not start any rumors, right? I hear they're flying drones in a couple areas they shouldn't be over the U.S. right now. So I don't need to incite any of that.
I'm gonna be so mad if like not if you get hit by a drone and you're just because your feed will go out and screw up all my graphics.
Yeah, it's funny. One of my ex-girlfriends actually used to whenever like some weird topic would come up, she seriously would like step about 6 feet to the side and then look up in the sky. It became like this running joke of like, oh, it's today the day kind of thing. I'm trying to get out of the blast radius, and it's like, oh man. But yeah,
Hellfire missile blast radius is much more than 6 feet.
I kept trying to explain that, right? Like, there's not a munition that's carried pretty much anywhere where that's gonna, a few steps to your left or right is really gonna make a difference. But hey, rock on, man.
Right? So. Like, you really want to see it coming that badly? That's fine.
You just look for the red dot.
That's it. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally. Or also known in some cases as bald spot. Right. I mean, if you could confuse that from
Hey, wait a minute.
hey.
Hey, no,
For
no
some
personal
people, it's not a
attacks.
spot; it's a lifestyle.
I told
There
you
you
guys,
go.
no
Hey,
personal attacks on
Thank
Josh.
you so
It's
much.
it's not a personal attack. It's a proof of decades in the industry.
Wait a minute. That's the most backhanded compliment ever.
Josh,
No, I'm
understand
saying
that
old
like
and
you've
bald.
been
Here.
through the stress, right? Decades in the industry, right? It's that the proof's in the pudding, man. I mean, that's the I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Okay, never
Katie, we
mind.
need to
We're
get
gonna
out
let
now.
that one. Yes, so we're gonna slide that one. Keep going.
Cut.
Why don't you call
Anyway.
him fat while you're at it? Jesus.
No. Hey, anyway, pleasure to be here. Happy to chat about both blue and red team. I guess I played both sides of the fence here, depending on government or civilian work. So, anywho.
And you are founder, correct, of Rendition Sec?
Yeah, I'm the original founder. I don't run it today. That's Mr. McCrillis who handles all that. But which thankfully frees me up to be here. So.
Well, good, because I tap you for pretty much everything I do. I'm like, hey Jake, I'm doing another thing. Yeah, I'll be there. That's fine.
Yeah, sure. Rock on, man. That's too easy, right?
Person
So,
with the
yep.
person with the same attitude. Shut up, Alexa. I didn't ask you a thing. I heard. Did you? So wait a minute. Is it because I had Jake on that now my Alexa turned on? That's super suspect.
Where's the drone?
No, like the light is on, and this is like the notification light, and the notification might be Jake Williams is in proximity to somebody talking about stuff.
I went out to dinner with Ed Scotus years ago, and his phone battery just like drained out. Right, he's just gone, and he's like, "Dude, my phone has never done this before." He's like, "I went from like 100% to like 0 in the span of like an hour and a half." He's like, "And the only thing that I can tie it to is sitting next to you." And I'm like, "Dude, don't. This is an illusory. It's clearly an illusory correlation, right? Just like the Alexa thing, right? But you build enough of these, and then suddenly people are like, meh."
I don't know, bro. This has happened a lot when I've been with you.
Nah.
Like one time is a neat little like, that's cute. A couple times like, that's a coincidence.
You're just noticing it more.
Yeah. Why is there always a van parked outside when there's nothing but a cornfield across from me? That's weird. Why is my dog's collar beeping? Next to him, somebody not probably followed by multiple government agencies. I don't know, maybe for all I know. Mr. Derek Rook. Hey, man.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, it's a really good thing that we scheduled for 2 hours because the intros are going to take an hour. Who are you and what do you do?
Wow, I dress up as Star Wars.
We've established that.
No, I'm Derek Rook. I'm a principal offensive security engineer at Teradata and also sometimes SANS instructor. And I run a small offensive team for Teradata and doing anything from pen testing to vulnerability research to red teaming, adversarial emulation, just kind of whatever Teradata needs to help with their product development and services. And I come out of systems admin, systems engineering, so I did quite a bit of like blue team and not as much IR, but I teach IR as a pen tester. So that's my background. That's who I am.
Out of how many people on the panel have instructed at SANS? How many of you were or are current SANS instructors? Okay, it's just two. I thought it was more. I could have sworn Nick did that or Sigil or Lit. And then
I met Sigil when we spoke at SANS.
I just hang out a lot.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I've presented at SANS, but I've never been a.
Okay,
instructor.
who has presented at SANS? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3.
Like taught a course
God,
or just
yeah,
presented at one of their conferences?
Presented, taught a course.
Presented.
Okay. Man, Nick, why are you even here, man? You're not raising your hand for anything.
It's too busy at like RSA and stuff, like high profile.
Cool, we could talk to Nick's chair. By the way, Nick wearing one of the new awesome and not awesome DEF CON shirts for DEF CON safe mode. I have been talking about my goon dropping stuff, my goon mask that I wear. I haven't actually bought. I had full opportunity. I never get a DEF CON t-shirt because I never get the swag in time. And I know I'm not going to get this t-shirt either because I just forgot to order it. So
Danny, you come find me at DEF CON. I will make sure you get a shirt.
Oh, I abused my goon status with you last year 8 million times, just getting other people up, and I never got anything. But below him, as he's talking, Mr. Casper Scott Lyons from one of our sponsors for the PVJ, Red Lion LLC. Hello, Scott. Again.
Hey, again, right? Didn't we do this in the morning already?
We did, and it's already like almost 3 o'clock. Already.
So I've done a lot of government work. Wrote the vulnerability program for USCIS, the incident response playbook and program for USDA. Did incident response and forensics for Pentagon, for some place in Maryland. I can't say which. Jake. So been there, done that. Yeah, he's like, he's right over there. I was the right hand of the CISO of Discovery Communications for a while. I've been a serial entrepreneur for years at this point. And I've been working with Josh on this little thing called Red Lion now for about the last 4 years. And we've got some, if you know us personally, keep an eye on what we're up to, because we got some really big news coming here soon.
You're such a good hype man. You really
are.
Oh,
I have to be. Man, listen, if my hair was like up here, I could totally take some of it off and put it on Josh's head. Okay?
Can you imagine Josh with a bright blue mohawk?
Oh, I totally could. Actually, I told him he should do like the blue
stripe. He's like, I'm gonna get some blue paint and just paint your head striped blue.
Like, think like Wile E. Coyote painting the side of a rock wall. Okay.
Hold on. In one of our chats, I'm gonna get to Weaver. Hey Alexa, how far do I need to be away from Jake to avoid drones?
Now, what is the blast radius? Oh, snap.
Oh no, she's talking about ozone, which must be code for something. You have one new notification. Prepare to die. Alexa, stop. Sorry, CIA. That was something Moose put in one of our chats, so I figured I would ask.
Yeah, I'm also a DEF CON goon for swag, so if you need anything, just find me.
Oh my god, for anybody who's ever been to the swag line at DEF CON.
Oh, dude.
Oh my god.
Dude, we've made it so much better. Holy cow, you're hitting my rant button. For the last 5 years in a row, we have eclipsed not only the previous year's sale volume, but also the time it took to make the sale happen.
Hype man.
And we were really looking forward to opening Thursday morning this year and closing Friday night. Like, it's gotten that fast.
Yeah. No, you guys do a really, really great job. And I swear to God, we're going to be talking about red teaming stuff here real soon. I love getting to know all of these people. And of course, we have Mr. Josh Marpet, quadling, father of a little baby, and of Quadling's hat.
Well, I'm not the father of the hat. Let's be clear on this. I just wear it. Okay.
Yeah.
The small child is mine. Absolutely. I although I did not birth her, I had something to do with her. Something to do with her being around,
at least financially.
Yeah. Actually, surprisingly enough, she's less than 2 years old, so it's not that expensive. But she's wonderful, and she's the best thing in the whole world. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming back. I mean, you guys are going to be involved in this, all weekend. We're going to be going until at least, I mean, everything closes tomorrow at like 9 Eastern or whatever. So we have plenty of talks, plenty of panel. But let's get to this one. I honestly didn't prepare a whole lot. I have some general red teamy questions that I know can do some spirited discussions. But I think the one that I wanted to start with, for those of you on the panel, I'm actually going to start with Nick on this one, because we talked a little bit about breaches, the no easy breach, all the APTs and things like that. What do you think most closely mimics like in a training-esque environment to get the skills that you need to respond to breaches like this? Is it red team? Is it CTFs like this? Like what can CTFs do? What can like the threat emulation things do to more readily prepare somebody for something that arguably maybe you can't really prepare for? Like you can't prepare for what every attacker is going to do or how they're thinking on a human level. Do you what do you think is the best way for people to prepare? Is it events like this?
Partially, yes. I mean,
it's Nick.
You've got
No, please. You guys could answer better probably. I was going to say I don't really know. I've had the opportunity to sort of learn with like trial by fire But one nice thing is tool convergence, like the tools available in CTFs and available for people in like live fire environments on both the red and blue side are, reflect what's available and what defenders are using and what attackers are using. So you can get your hands on simulating very authentic attacks. But I don't know. I haven't done a lot of training ranges and stuff like that, and I've just sort of learned by doing it.
If you could build your own, so say you wanted to, if you ever got into the idea that you wanted to try to build something, what do you have any thoughts on, like what kinds of things you would build into a training exercise or a range or something like that that would maybe mimic a real life situation?
I'll have to think about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
So I have to plug CCDC real quick. Does anybody else here do CCDC? Excellent. All right. So it's a little bit more exclusive because it's the collegiate cyber defense competition. So it's red teamers that are volunteers versus blue teamers that are the college students. But I think that of all the things I've participated in, and I think Pros versus Joes is as close as it gets to outside of that environment, that these kind of things that are live fire can prepare you as best as possible to the real thing if you have an active attacker. A lot of times when you have incident response or a digital forensics case, you might come in after the fact, especially as a consultant, you can come in after the fact where you don't have anybody live in the environment anymore, or you might find a cron job or a root kit, so you have a backdoor and they still have access to the environment, but maybe they've done everything that they wanted to do 2 years ago. So it's all a matter of perspective as to what prepares you most, because you could be looking at a million different things. But I think that the more variety and spice you can put in your life with these things, with CTFs, with even hack the box, like doing it from the red team perspective with your blue team, like know how something gets exploited. Like I think that's invaluable as far as preparation goes.
You're 100% right about that. The red versus the blue. I'll throw out there for whatever it's worth. The majority of my incident responders, I've hired as ex-NSA hackers, right, or ex-government hackers, right. And it's not a lot of those folks. As we bring them in initially, they're like, I don't do incident response. I'm like, oh yes, you do, right. You just don't know it yet, right. And it's taking that offensive knowledge and saying, turning it into a game of chess, right. Yeah, I'm ducking a drone. That's fine. I see the chat over there. But yeah, but seriously, it's pull people in that understand how to do the exploitation. And we find that then they're basically playing chess. Like, where would you go next? And typically that's where the attacker went. That's how they did. And there's that big push or that big synergy between that red and blue team skills. I don't really view it as one or the other.
Set a thief to catch a thief. Exactly.
The real problem a lot of organizations see is that they don't know when they've been breached or when they're being attacked, right? They haven't created the baselines to be able to variance against anomalies, right? So how do you really get something like that going, especially in an environment where more oftentimes than not, security is not number one of the company, but sales is?
Yeah, to piggyback off that, coming in and solving problems, like that's obviously one of the best things you can get out of some of the CTFs is just problem solving quickly. So in the world of third-party incident response, where you don't own the network, you just have to hone that skill by doing it, coming in and like solving a problem, doing it quickly, figuring out how to baseline if there is no baseline. And the best thing that can help with understanding what an anomaly is and how something should look is obviously like setting up a blue team environment yourself, getting in and like just setting up a little lab environment with every little function you'd expect. I think that stuff is really cool. That's what I liked about the Pros vs. Joes event too.
Now, are you saying setting this up at home? Because I'll tell you right now, when we go to hire people, one of our questions is, what does your home environment look like? How is it set up? Give me details, walk me through it. Right? I mean, is that what you're talking about?
To be clear, the home environment he's talking about is not like what's your relationship with your spouse. It's more along the lines of your home lab.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty good. And you also have the opportunity to do some training environments and just actually understand how to baseline if you're constantly coming in and only looking at breached environments, they might all look a little bit different, and just, it helps. Like, one of the best skill sets, frankly, that we used to find on the Mandiant side, especially for people that would obviously help remediate breaches, but it is people who were system administrators, like just very proficient in scripting, very effective, understood how things are supposed to work, and just had that drive and excitement for security. Like, some of the people that challenged me the most were people newer to security that really understood what a network was supposed to look like.
I want to come in with 2 points actually on all of this, which I totally agree with, and I love hearing all of this every time that this question comes up. I spent some time doing, with my previous employer, going to meetups and things, meeting people who were a lot newer to the industry and maybe not part of the community that we're all blessed to be part of a little while ago. And what struck me was a lot of them saw red and blue as separate. So I'm always really glad to hear people say, you know, it's two sides of the same coin, but that doesn't mean you have to learn both at the same time. You can alternate between the two and do a really good job of it. But I think when I was starting out a while back, it was really intimidating to me that you get the best bucket list of projects in the world anytime this question comes up, right? You get home labs, you get future employers, ways that other people learned, activities that they loved, degree programs or clubs, everything that they swear by. And really, I kind of start thinking about, you know, if I was not in this country, or if I hadn't gone to university, or if I've never worked for a government agency, but if the best way to be a hacker was to work for one of them or be a sysadmin, it's completely fine. You don't have to have that background, in my opinion, at least. The themes to pull away from this are more that a lot of people who've really enjoyed their time in security, I feel like from the answers people give, are they tend to alternate between red and blue, you know, because learning the core principles of security, it doesn't matter. So I've been a security engineer, I've been a pen tester, and then I got pulled all the way back over to blue team because it's just fascinating to me to look at a problem a different way. A lot of us like thinking deeply about problems. So taking an hour or 12 hours to solve a CTF problem isn't bad. You're building your skills. And I think the other is community, right? It can be local, it can be online, but learning along with people that are at a similar level to you or want to grow along with you. I always love answering questions for people, but that doesn't mean that they can't, you know, find people in their own area that are going to grow. It's like if you're going to grow a security program at a company, and I'm on a tangent now, but if you're growing a security program at a company, you got to start where that company is and move up. You can't just come in and be like, now we're compliant, I'm going to attach compliance, right? It's about growth with everyone in the company. And I think learning skills is kind of similar, right? You find some people around the same level, a little above, a little below, people you can learn from and grow with, and then start playing that game of chess versus each other. You know, if you come out being like, I've just joined security and I want to know tomorrow how to combat, you know, this APT, that's a fantastic goal, but don't beat yourself up if you can't do it. I think it's a process of growth and finding opportunity as well.
Can I throw something in there? I love that you put and added your experience with security architecture and engineering, because my personal belief, and I'll be ranting about this tomorrow, I think, is that security starts with IT, with system administration. Security starts with technical support, for God's sakes. Okay, security starts with good habits taught to everybody around you. And if you don't know how to engineer a computer, a system of computers, a network, Kubernetes, wired, whatever, you don't understand how to do security properly. And you can say the same thing about coding, at least a basic knowledge of these things. And I love the fact that you brought engineering into it. So I just want to say thank you to that.
The one thing that I'll piggyback on that too is just, you know, you can't know all the things. So having a good team is essential too, and knowing what you don't know, and that's kind of difficult. So how do you see what you can't see? I mean, we deal with that all the time in incident response. So, you know, not being afraid to cross the streams and go on the red side. And I'm representing the Bloodhound shirt today. I'm a big believer, even though I'm on the IR side, of using red team tools. Like, why on earth would I bang my head against a wall when I can get more visibility into something that an attacker already has, because I know that they ran Sharphound on a domain controller? Like, why wouldn't I want that same knowledge? Like, I want to see where they laterally moved next, or how many steps they had to take to do it. So, you know, knowing what you don't know, but it's okay if, you know, you haven't been a red teamer. It's okay if you haven't worked on the IR side, or you're not a coder, or, you know, you've never been a network admin. those are things that, yeah, you can supplement a little bit, but don't beat yourself up too hard if you've got weak spots, because we all have them and we all forget how to do certain things and we all Google all day long anyways. So, having a good team and knowing where your sysadmins are and where your network admins are, and knowing what questions to ask them is almost more invaluable sometimes.
The only person we haven't heard from on this is Rook. Rook, you got any opinions on it?
I don't generally have opinions. It's not what I'm known for.
I see what you did with that castle. I see it.
He's just like, whatever, man. We just all get along.
I mean, so one of the things that really struck me when I was listening to the conversation is what a couple of you, like Katie and Nick and a few of you mentioned, is this idea that like red team and blue team aren't separate skills. And I just want to dig a little deeper into that, in that like there's a joke that I hear occasionally that I don't actually think is a joke, which is like advanced red teaming is just really, really advanced systems administration. And as a former sysadmin, like I feel that in my bones. Like so I'm a principal offensive security engineer and I run a team, and I've had security in my title for 5 years total. And before that, I was an admin. I was an engineer. I was I was help desk for years. And that experience in these disparate systems, putting them together, running into problems, taking shortcuts, not wanting to configure it correctly, gave me the experience that I now have as an offensive person, going, oh yeah, I've deployed this server before. I know exactly what they did because I did the same thing. And you can take these shortcuts, right? And because of that, like one day I'll probably go back to blue, because I think, as people have said, we kind of hop around a lot because we're passionate about learning. Like the skills that I developed in red teaming, I mean, I learned containerization and clustering as an offensive person, right? I didn't do that in my defensive career because it wasn't really a thing back then. But
so you're old.
I'm gonna it's not that old. But like I've learned cloud operations. I've learned, deploying C2 at scale and, hardening DNS servers and things like that as an offensive person. I'm going to take that back to blue team and same lessons learned, right? And they're the same skills. They're not different.
Yeah, that's a great point on the
more about it.
Underscoring like that system administrator experience that we keep coming back to and keep talking about. It's important because like that's a much larger crop of InfoSec talent, and just highlighting for people that on the red and blue side, that's really great experience. And it helps too that like when you're looking for apex attackers, they can look like sysadmins that are better than any sysadmins who are supposed to be there. And so it's definitely, it's all super helpful to understand what they might be doing. And that's actually a little bit off topic, but like when I finally had the opportunity to have some red teamers come in who were trying to break into the blue team within the Mandiant team, where they let people move back and forth, it was awesome just having people that could help explain what they were thinking, what the attacker was trying to do, and explaining techniques at such a deeper level that that we didn't quite understand. And that I feel like now having people across those teams, those are some of the best people at detection, because like a POC for exactly how a technique is supposed to work is like the ultimate thing you want to strive for detecting as well. It's like the perfect proof of concept code is indistinguishable from a test harness for detection and stuff like that. So anyways, I'm seeing a lot of red teamers and really well-known, awesome red teamers starting to make the move to the blue team side on the detection. And so it's just nice. It's cool to see so much cross-pollination and people realizing they're not different skills.
So I want to take this in a different direction, right? How many times have you run across people that can't write the report?
Yep.
Do you know?
First year should be hanging their head right now. Oh God.
Scott, I was just on with who did I record something with yesterday? It was Ray Watson. I was on with Ray Redacted, and basically said, hey, and he was talking about the basically like how do you get into the industry, right? What's one of the things you can do to kind of separate yourself out, particularly for newbies? And I said, man, get a blog, start a blog. right? That's the number one thing. When I get, you know, the last time we opened up for pen testers, right? Opened up kind of open call, you know, as far as posting posting job, you know, job announcements. We got, I want to say something like 400 resumes in a matter of like, you know, for entry level, right? 400 resumes in a matter of like 2 days, right? And you know, I obviously am not. There's no way that we can go through and, you know, interview 400 people. We interviewed 5 people, and 4 of those 5 had a blog. Right. And the reason for that wasn't because they were giving back to the community, although that is certainly a big thing. Right. But the big thing was I knew right off the bat they could write. And that's something I can't flesh out very easily in an interview. So,
yeah, you
anyway.
know, with Red Lion, if I may, we try not to hire technologists, period. Right. If you're coming to me and you're saying, hey, you know, do you got a job open? Do you have any openings? I mean, it's great. Go ahead and apply. You know, I don't want to discourage you. But at the same time, we try to go after people that we know can parse compliance language, that can make it real, and then bring it down to a human level, right? That companies can then understand and put into practice, right? We can teach tech all day, all night. We are really good at it, right? Everybody that is on this panel can teach tech blindfolded, right? But we can't teach the soft skills. We can't teach the critical thinking. We can't teach the writing. Okay. We can say, yeah, here's the format. You know, we can, you know, like copy and paste all day, all night. But if it doesn't work for the client, we cannot sell a product. So it doesn't matter whether you're red team or blue team, right? If you can't write up the thing, that the $ thing that you are working on, right, and put it in a coherent, transparent manner, you need help. You need help.
I think one of the things that a lot of people miss about red team or blue team really is that like your elite skills are not the product. Like it's cool that you did that super neat hacker thing, but that's not actually what your job is. Your job is the report. Your job is to help remediate that super cool hacker thing. And the job is to help build detections around that super cool hacker thing. And people get so caught up in like, oh, I just did this sick hack, yo. And you're like, cool, that felt good. And I'm happy, really happy for you, but write it up, please. Like, you know, or my biggest trigger is, and what I think separates a good report from a bad report, at least from an offensive perspective, is like your remediation recommendations. If it's just like, oh, this is bad, so turn it off. Like the number of times I see that, I'm just like, no. It needs to be way better than that. And if you don't know what a better remediation recommendation is than that, then you didn't actually hack the thing, you just got lucky. So research it, figure out why it was broken, and then write up why it was broken.
So if you're doing a write-up and you look at it and you think it's perfect, you need to go back, reread it, and ask yourself one question only. Danny, I promised I wouldn't use bad language, and I'm still not going to do it. But the question that you need to ask yourself every single time, so the what?
I thought you were going to say like blockchain or compliance or something.
Well, I already said compliance. I mean,
Oh, God.
Okay.
Filter.
Blockchain, drink. Okay, good. You know, it's not like we're talking with Jeff Mann and PCI over on Security and Compliance Weekly.
Well, Josh was the first one to say Kubernetes, so everybody should have drank on that one.
And Moose is like, I'm up. Here we go.
Well, Moose is also juggling a cat, if you haven't been paying attention.
A very cute kitty cat.
I
So
have
for
scotch
people-
on my desk, so
There's a few people in the Twitch commenting about they do a lot of writing at work. They obviously can't show that stuff off. Does anybody have tips? I really like the suggestion to encourage people to create a blog. That's definitely a trend that we're seeing more and more. Although I do find that people are hesitant to write up something like with respect to being embarrassed about its accuracy. Like specifically in the malware analysis area, you'll get someone like the inputs are all available, right? There's data sets available for this. You can get your hands on malware. You can get your hands on the original data and write up a blog. But I notice a lot of people are nervous to put something out there because they might not get it all right, or you might be judged on it. And at least from my perspective, what I was going to share is that I just look for the passion, the excitement, and frankly, that documentation experience over time. But I don't know if anyone has other suggestions.
So everybody screws things up. Everybody screws things up. If you don't write, if you don't take the chance, You're definitely going to screw it up when it matters. Do it on the exercise. And I'll shut up, Moose. I apologize. I stepped
Oh, no, you're
Go for it.
fine. I have so my first degree was in literature. It is my first love. I love English. I used to be an English teacher. And I think a lot of times we spend so much time focused on the tech of I have to learn this technique, or I have to learn, X, Y, Z, new exploit, and we don't take time to go back to the basics of what makes us actually successful. And like everybody before me has said, there's a lot of moving parts to this. There's nothing wrong with taking a writing class. You take SANS classes and you do certifications in like Sec Plus or Net Plus or anything like that. But there's really nothing wrong with honing your other skills in communication. And it's such a big part of this job and being successful and growing is how to communicate. And if you don't want to spend the money on a class, the biggest tip I have is if you're shy, and I don't put my music out there, so I can't be a hypocrite and tell you, hey, do blog and put yourself out there and be vulnerable. If you don't want to do that, write a journal, write reports to yourself, read it out loud back to yourself, and see how you would like it as an executive. Try and put yourself in their shoes, in your client's shoes, in your boss's shoes, and just kind of process like, would I accept this, and would I pay X amount of money for it? And I think just the practice will make you better of doing that if it's something you want to focus on. And I do think it's very important. So this question triggered me.
Danny, you may want to fix the screens, buddy.
I'm working on it, sir. Thank you for calling it out. Holy God almighty.
Taking that view moves back towards the blog side. I think what I was going to mention was both the practice, definitely, but you can start with what you're comfortable with as well. So if people actually, looked at what I've put out, I've had a few talks, but I only really have like 2 blog posts. And I've still, the fact that I can articulate why something is a problem, the fact that I've gone through what was at the time a multi-day hurdle to explain exactly what Caribou roasting was in English to someone and have them understand, right? Not technology, not, wowing them by saying, I explained this technique in big words and you didn't get it because you're not smart, but actually taking them along for the ride, taking them through what it means to understand why it matters. And you can focus on small technologies too. So my first role was not very supportive of people speaking. That's fine. Every company has their own views on it. And some companies have a very delicate profile publicly. So that kind of stuff can be tough to handle. I managed email firewalls all the time. I can't write about my email firewalls, but I had to learn a lot about SMTP. And I turned the whole thing into a talk, and it was my first talk and I loved it. You spend enough time and enough pain with something, and it becomes very special to you. And so speaking for a full hour at layer 1 about SMTP and SPF and DKIM and DMARC was a joy to me. And so it wasn't necessarily practice. It was just getting to share something that, a lot of people who've been in the industry for maybe, 5 years or 10 years, they do kind of know that stuff, but that's okay. A better explanation or a refresher never hurts. And there's still tons of people in the crowd who came up after and were either, amazed that someone explained it plainly or, which was flattering, or they had not really gotten a good explanation before. So there's nothing wrong with duplicating work. There's nothing wrong with taking one thing from your job, like how you use a tool or how you dissect something simple like a toy binary. Those things are okay too, and they don't necessarily have to take up your whole life. You don't have to, write the grand, Norse epic of malware dissection in order to be worthy in the field.
And that's such a great point. Like, one thing that I struggled with a lot when I first started speaking and started my YouTube channel was like, I didn't start earlier because I didn't think I had anything to add, right? Like everything's already been done. All the wizards, like people like Jake's out there talking about all kinds of stuff. And like, what is there left for me to retread? I have to do years and years of research to have something new. But your perspective is important, because the way you went through solving the problem is different than any other way anybody else has solved the problem. And that story is valuable to people. And on the subject of, well, like the fear of not getting it 100% correct or not being able to cover the entire subject, it kind of steer into that skid. Post something that's incomplete. Like, hey, I did X, Y, and Z, and like, here's what I've done. What have you done? You know, what have you worked on this? Like, where have you gone with it? When I started my YouTube channel, I did it so I could learn, and I've learned way more during my live streams from the people that are in the chat than I think I've taught them, right? Like, it was not a unidirectional exchange of information. And so it is scary. I'm never not nervous before it, and I haven't done a live stream in ages, but I'm never not nervous before them. But it's been extremely rewarding. So don't feel like you don't have to slam dunk every time. You know, slam dunk. You don't have to. You don't have to like knock it out of the park every time, right? You are. It is okay to be human in this field.
You know, if I can pivot off of the whole blog question too, and Derek, you're 100% correct, man. I'm not going to rehash what you just said, but you know, your unique perspective brings something to it. You know, and I haven't. I know you're another SANS instructor. I'd be interested to hear kind of your take on this. But how many times have you had a student say, "I don't get that," and you're like, "Okay, well, let me think of another way to say it." And then you say it, and then it's like, number 3, I didn't get that. Okay, number 3, number 4, and it's like, then they say, "Why didn't you just say that the first time?" And it's like, because I didn't know that was the one way. And so as you contribute stuff out there, you're saying it that 3rd, 4th, 5th way, and I think it's valuable to somebody, right?
And it helps you understand it more deeply as well.
Yes.
Like the you know, the thing that Katie said that really resonated with me was, you know, like, oh well, I've never had anybody explain it to me that clearly before, or that simply before. And one of the things, talking about report writing, that I kick back a lot on my team is either they don't write enough or they write way too much.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't write something concisely and you can't explain it in basic terms, it means you don't actually know it completely. And the number of times I've had a student ask me a question that just catches me completely off guard, and I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. Wait, is it? No, it's not ridiculous. And then you kind of like go down that thought process. Like, even as the instructor, like, I'm learning stuff by explaining it to them and like reasoning through that concept.
Well,
Yeah.
what's the old adage? You know, true mastery of a skill is being able to teach it.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have something that you're unsure of, but you know you have more than enough knowledge in your head, before you write about it, try teaching somebody about it. Right. And then see what happens. Could that be a route somebody could take?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's literally why I started my YouTube channel, was so that I could learn something well enough to explain it to other people. And you'll see me on the live stream like go off script and try and talk about something I didn't plan on talking about, and I just go dead stop because I don't know. Like, oh, now I have to figure this out.
Wait, you actually have scripts on your streams?
I mean, I kind of plan what I'm going to talk about.
What kind of sociopath are you?
But hey, seriously, like, another thing that you can do on the blog side that's completely non-technical, and this is a great spot. If you are fearful of being wrong about something, right, you can simply offer your opinion about a particular infosec news happening, whatever. I'm not talking about getting into flame wars. Let's be very clear here, right? Because we're talking about things you can do to get into infosec rather than things that get you ostracized from, you know, possibly as a new new contributor there, or even a long-term contributor. But offer an opinion on something, right? Grab a CTI report. A great example of this is yesterday. NSA released some. God, I hate coming back to this, but it's topical. NSA released documentation on sandworm exploiting stuff since last August, right? Why now? Do you have an opinion on why did we do this in May, right? 9 months after the fact. If you do, write a blog about it, right? And that's just an example of something there. And that, again, you can't be wrong about that. It's an opinion. It's a, or hey, why do we think that it took, the vulnerability is released in June, right? They say in the tech, in the tech report that this nation state actor was first observed exploiting in August. Why did they wait 2 months for a trivial vulnerability? That's the kind of stuff that you can put together. And again, it's pure opinion, right? But you can't be wrong about it, and it still demonstrates your writing. So anyway.
And reading reports like that is a great way to level up your skills. Like read those releases and other people's reports and other people's blogs. That's huge.
This is the kind of thing that leads to me having a PDF folder of like 50 reports before I go on vacation and reading about half of one of them. Just to put the human spin on it again, right? Like, I love a good report and I can really dig into one, but once you dig in to understand it, it takes years more than you thought it would.
Well,
One of the reasons I work where I work
sorry.
is for my oh sorry.
No,
One of
go
the
ahead,
reasons I work where I work is because it came with full access to a bunch of reports, and when I say a bunch of reports, I mean like all the reports. So I'm very spoiled, and I will say that's probably the best point I can emphasize and piggyback on is reading helps writing.
Right. Now, in dealing with going through those reports, I want to make a side note shout out here. There's a program that's put out by a company called Agnes Intelligence, right? That allows you to take any volume of data and then index it and move the data around and pull out specifically where it's positioned in what documents. If you get a chance to go check it out, definitely check them out, agnesintel.com. I want to take this in a different approach. Okay, like let's flip the script. This supposed to be red team, blue team, right? What do you guys think? And I know I'm moderating for Danny at this point. WTF, BBQ, FTW.
He only asked one question an hour ago, just for those tracking.
Right. What do you
I'm
guys
perfectly
see?
fine. This is called delegation, people.
What do you guys see as the future of red team attacks? Okay, we've had social engineering be a big thing. We've had in-person engineering, right? APT is no longer advanced persistent threat. It's now advanced phishing techniques, right? Where do you guys see the future of red teaming being, right? And I swear if you guys answer with just pivoting, I'm going to be very mad. Where do you guys see that?
Well, I mean, I don't know that the techniques are really going to change too terribly much. What's going to happen is where those attacks are taking place. I was talking to a friend. I'm not going to name him just in case he's embarrassed by the statement, but I was talking to a friend of mine who is an extremely talented and capable offensive person, and he was lamenting about starting a company. And he's like, I think red teaming might be dead soon. Like I'm concerned because like Microsoft's really upping their game and there's a lot of good tools coming out and the focus on security is getting much tighter. And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, but people aren't keeping their stuff in AD anymore. They're keeping it in the cloud and nobody knows what the heck's going on in the cloud. So like I think the fixation of the specific technology that we're attacking at any given time, and I don't want to get into like attacking AD is dead because it's not, but there was a concern there, right? Like about the future of what red teaming or attacking is going to look like. And I don't think it's going to change that much. It's just the underlying technology that shifts underneath us at any given time.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't say attacking AD is dead because I swear I'll get Sean Metcalf on here right now.
No. But there is a concern, right? Like so like Spectre Ops has changed the way they've stopped doing PowerShell specific stuff because where they're operating at is a very different area than most of us operate at, right? But different attackers have different targets. But I'm not saying attacking AD is dead. I'm not naming names, but I did recently see a client with I like literally MSO 8067 just like kicking around like not too long ago.
Gives me the warm and fuzzies.
Cool.
All that.
Yeah, right.
So retro.
Right? I'm so
Do
glad
you
I
know-
learned it in OCP.
We actually, God, what was the Code Red? We Code Redded a box like a year and a half ago. It was unbelievable. The guy, my analyst comes to me and is like, "This can't be real." And I'm like, "Is it a honeypot?" And it turns out no, it was actually sadly, it was an OT system sitting on the IT network. So that was one of those back away, kind of. But it was one of those, it's that kind of level of bold. So to Derek's point, yeah, that kind of stuff's not going away. There's definitely still going to be some of that.
I had a client like less than a year ago come to me asking me to pen test. It was a CISO, a brand new CISO in a company that was trying to justify getting rid of a Windows 2000 box that ran like critical systems in their infrastructure. And he's like, can we hire you to pen test this box? And I said, no, but I will set up a VM on my infrastructure that replicates that box and I'd be happy to attack it, because whatever critical stuff is preventing you from getting rid of like a 20-year-old system, I don't want to knock over. But yeah, old stuff's always going to stick around.
I think it's hard to comment. Oh, go ahead, Moose.
No, you first. Go.
Okay. All right. I think it's hard to comment on where red teaming will go, just because I always feel like we have a visibility bias. I think we're still seeing such a small amount of the actual intrusions or interesting intrusions and techniques going on. So I guess if I broaden it up, like it's just a little bit hard. I think there's going to be a little bit more places where red teamers don't go because it's out of scope and not or not legal. I think the places where it makes sense is like some of the cloud and cross-platform applications where more people are looking. I transitioned over to cloud security because it interests me. I felt attackers are going there, both authorized and unauthorized. But the two areas that have concerned me, they're kind of tied together, is like targeting individuals and people's personal accounts, as well as targeting mobile. Like that's where I think obviously a lot of investment goes and where a lot of nation states focus their resources. And that's an area that's out of scope for red teams. So just trying to broaden it up, that like I don't think red teams and where red teams can look might not capture the full scope of what everyone's doing. But I would love to see people handle some more traditional things like VBR and MBR boot kits, and there's like a bunch of techniques that
time out. Go back and break those letters down for people that don't know what the heck you're smoking at that point in time.
Which part? Sorry.
VBR, MBR,
Okay.
WTF.
Just that like we at my last job, we would find attackers that were installing rootkits and in the virtual boot record or master boot record. And there's a bunch of, I don't think I've seen a lot of red teams doing that. It might be out of scope again. But I just more, it's a little bit hard to predict where red teams will go, to answer your question, when they're not allowed to go a good amount of places that other attackers do go.
And to kind of piggyback on that, I think that some of the landscape is changing, but a lot of it isn't. So if you think about how you first get in, yes, that might be changing, but I'm still seeing deserialization attacks. I'm still seeing, is it exposed to the web? Whether it be network or web server or accidental EC2, what have you, or an S3 bucket, it doesn't matter what it is, it's exposure first. So how do I get into that thing? And then what do I do once I'm in? And I think that those things, while the shift of technology might change it a little bit, you're still looking at the same questions, or I'm still asking the same questions on the IR side of the fence is, okay, they got in, how'd they move from there? Or what's the motivation given this vulnerability? A new interesting one recently that I've seen is the salt stack vulnerability. And I've had a lot of fun with that one. A lot of the people who've been exploiting that are just spamming crypto miners. You get in, it's a very high level, like you basically get in as root and you can do anything you want. But the people who first like spammed out there and did it, it's a ton of crypto mining. So, it's stuff like that where it's really interesting if you get motivation, like there's going to be different lateral movement or exploits depending on what the person wants to do. So I think thinking like the thief is still going to be the future of red teaming, and just making sure that you keep all motivations in mind. We're still going to be getting creative around, old techniques, doing new things.
I want to take a totally different angle, if that's all right. I think we've talked the technical angle out, and that's awesome because there's a lot more technology that we have to genuinely, in my eyes, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's a lot more technology we have to genuinely care about than before as we, work on securing everything. And then with cloud, there's more delegation of risk, right? If we're not allowed to pen test or red team it, and we rely on the cloud provider to secure it, then they're able to invest more money in securing that environment, more time, more effort, more fantastic talent, but they're still going to get some occasional bugs, right? That we have to kind of accept the risk that they're going to handle. But there's also the business side. One of my favorite types of assessments before I left pen testing was something that it was not, so we called it like attack path mapping, whatever. You call a bunch of services and a bunch of titles, a bunch of things, but Really, it was much more about talking to business leaders and focusing on what they were concerned about. So the types of attacks I was doing on my red teams were not advanced. They were not elite. They were not, special ODay or tools that I wrote myself. That's okay. Because the fact was the clients we were working with were still vulnerable to that, middle of the pack sort of deal where, PowerShell scripts are going to work on them and Bloodhound is going to work on them. And that's, in my eyes, that's okay. I think there's a lot of ways you could look at it and say that's depressing. But at the same time, kind of like with that learning journey, everyone's on a different point, and it's our job to help bring them along. So I think red teaming as one thing is kind of, in my eyes, going to splinter, right? So you have the concept of like red teaming a product as a cloud provider. Maybe you have red teaming for the business, looking more holistically at things, where even if it's a more advanced environment, you're not going to focus on one incredible, phishing, this one trick, hackers hate him or defenders hate him type of activity. And there still will be that kind of like classic red teaming. I'm going to get all my cool tools together, write my own stuff. It's just going to be a lot more technically advanced as the folks who are looking for that type of assessment improve. So all across the board, I think it's kind of, as the industry spreads, so do the roles.
Okay, so why don't we flip the script and say future of blue teaming? Jake, I'm gonna throw it to you. Put you on the spot.
I mean, obviously, we need more blockchain-based EDR.
God,
So
will you please
that's
stop
the.
it?
I think
Just
we
stop.
can agree on anything
with a drone
here.
flying through it. Okay.
Yeah.
Why would you zero in? And I'm not using a drone euphemism here. Why would you zero in on blockchain and blow that idea up?
No. I mean, I hope first off that we everybody knows that I'm being sarcastic here, right? So if anybody doesn't know, just for the record, that's 100% pure sarcasm. But yeah, drink exactly. Yeah. But no. So what's the future? Do you want me to blow up blockchain, or do you want me to talk about future blue teaming? Because I can do either or both.
Why don't you put them together?
Yeah.
To me, they should go together.
Should they go together? Okay. So here's what I think. I think the future of blue teaming, really is a lot of what we've already talked about here. In that, we need a lot of cross-discipline, experience. I used to when I was teaching a lot would discuss kind of this idea of Secret Service way back in the day had a problem with counterfeits, right? And this is Circuit City days when you could go buy a color printer, right? And all of a sudden the cost to produce a counterfeit bill dropped from owning a printing press to going to Circuit City and applying for in-store credit. They're not passable counterfeits, right? But because that threat model didn't exist, most people didn't know how to spot a counterfeit, neither did Secret Service. They trained their people on how to go find known bads, right? And they had to change that training over as the proliferation of that, really expanded. They had to change the training over to, hey, literally learn every single feature, nuance, et cetera, of known good, and then anything that basically breaks away from that. So moving from signature to anomaly detection, right? That's literally what they did. And I think we're going to have to do that more and more as well. I'm not going to weigh in on the OST debate. We could spend hours on that, and I don't have that kind of mental energy today. But the reality is, offensive tools, offensive security tools, OST, are out there. And I think the future of blue teaming is getting people that understand really understand what good looks like on a normal system. They understand not just the attack signatures, because those numbers of tools are going to continue to expand. People are going to modify those. I mean, how many folks have seen regular Mimikatz in an incident response, like right out of the Git repo in an incident response in the last couple of years? I haven't. I mean, it should be caught by everything. Do we still see Mimikatz being used? Every freaking incident, right? It's because people are making modifications on it, right? And so I think the more you learn about, I feel like the more you learn about that and the different tools out there, what good looks like, I think we're really going to have this blending of that red coming into the blue. But I think really it's going to be much more focused on not here are attack patterns, but here's what my network is supposed to look like, and any deviation from that now is something suspect. And blockchain has no piece in this. Done.
I love it. I love it when my dogs start barking in the background on a live mic. Jake, what I was going to say was, the more you know, right? It would be interesting. I'll throw it over to Katie. Katie, thoughts?
Yeah. I think definitely building the system. So I'd say this for any aspect of security and technology. You think about anomaly detection as something that humans are relied on for, and that's always going to be the case to some extent. But building the process that detects that and building the process that understands what normal is. I'm not saying that, machine learning, AI, anomaly detection is the future. Oh, but knowing how to build those kinds of things a little bit smarter on your own. If you've got a detection that you're working on, knowing how to make it require a little less tuning and update on yourself, right? If we're going to say, these things are critical and these things are not, okay, well, why are they critical? Why do we think they're critical? What patterns are there? And just trying to draw a little bit more of that out, because it definitely, the more you know, but also it takes time to know things. So the more you can get help figuring out where you can, or the more you can think of it as an equation. Not that an equation can never solve it, but that's kind of my opinion on that. And it could be wrong.
All right, we got about 5 or 10 minutes left until we have to transition to some other stuff. So, final thoughts for a minute. Like, we could cover stuff all day long. What topics have, as you're listening to all these conversations between yourselves, have you thought, like, I want to hit this real quick? And I'll give that to anybody.
I guess I'd say if you're starting out, the industry in 5 years is going to be different than the industry you're joining now. And that's fine. It's different than the industry I joined. I still love it. You might have to look for ways that it's changing or new ways to love it. I guess I'm just saying, I came into the field and everything became about Active Directory and pen testing very quickly. And I wanted to be a pen tester, right? And I wanted my OSCP and I got my OSCP. And it's cool to go through those cycles. And just because you get there, right, or you attain the goal, or something becomes less relevant over time. I'm not saying that those skills aren't relevant, but that, you hear a lot more about DevOps or cloud or all these different terms that are totally new. If one of those calls to you, jump right in, because nobody knows it yet. Not me, maybe, Nick on this panel, some people are going to be more familiar with it, but it takes time. And if a topic's completely new, an IT background will help you learn it faster. Your knowledge won't go to waste, but don't feel like you can't just jump in where things are happening and get started and have fun.
And that specific point is why is I understand as you're entering a new field, do you feel intimidated by the people who've been in the field for a while? But that whole shifting landscape where things are constantly popping up and new techniques are being developed all the time means that in 5 years, that head start is just like experience at that point. It's not actually like deep technical knowledge, because nobody has deep technical knowledge on the thing that was invented yesterday yet. So, as you're coming into this, I just wanted to pile on Katie's point. It was a really good one.
Yeah, that was like the good way of putting it, right? It's terrifying and it's awesome. What you've learned in the last 5 years might be irrelevant in 10 years, but it's more about, to me at least, knowing myself and knowing that, like, learning how to learn angle, which was a huge part before I was even in security for me. Just know how you work, know how you learn. You're never going to lose that knowledge, right? It's going to help you reach things faster. And, those crazy people who pick up a CTF challenge and solve it like it's nothing, even though they didn't know it. A lot of the times I feel like they've spent that time digging into something that seems completely irrelevant, right? But they know how they learn.
And because this is a CTF panel, do CTFs. I've learned so much by doing CTFs. It's ridiculous. So
yeah, I would say just being on this panel and listening to us ramble and being involved in CTFs, you're already doing the right things. It doesn't matter how many years you've been doing this or how you feel about where you are in your specific journey. All of us at some point in time have had imposter syndrome. I know that that's like a big thing. I still have it. Jake probably doesn't have it, but I think he's beaten it out of his system by now.
That happened when he got waterboarded by the CIA. Drone strike, here it comes.
No, but I think that it's important to say that, I still have to look things up on a daily basis, and I'm not going to speak for the whole panel, but just know that nobody knows everything. We're all still learning. This is a field where you will always be learning. It doesn't matter if you're in for 1 year or 10 or 20. Every day is a new adventure. And if you have that thirst and you're okay never being at the end of the finish line, then you're going to do great. So just keep asking questions and getting involved in panels and CTFs and conventions and anything you can get your hands on.
And completely agree on some of us having imposter syndrome, right? I have a lot of very good friends who will, when I'm having my down moments, tell me that I should listen to myself for once.
So and this is actually like, this is a great topic to end on of since we are doing this for the pros versus Joes, and is one big CTF. What, and like I have my own personal story of like the first time I sat for a CTF and I'm like, I have no business being here. What, for those that have done CTFs, what was your initial feeling about sitting down for your very first one, and how long did it take you to sit down for a first one?
So my very first SANS class. So I eventually went on to my team got first place in Tournament of Champions like 2 years in a row. However, my very first SANS class, I heard about this thing called Net Wars, and I was too intimidated to do it. Like I literally just didn't participate because I'm like, no, I'm not a hacker. I don't know these things. Like it's going to be intimidating. There's going to be, I heard there was a scoreboard. And I was like, scoreboard, hell no. Like there's people, you know, that are going to judge you. And the reality is so far from that. The reality is that in every CTF I've ever participated in, the environment was learning and helping each other learn and, you know, just having fun together. And I can't tell you not to be nervous. Like I can't tell you to just ignore that, but push through it because the rewards are so worth it.
I know mine was go ahead, Moose.
I was just going to say, I didn't want to do the first one either. I was so intimidated, and it was the good folks at Dallas Hackers Association who sat me down in a chair with a computer and a beer and said, you're not allowed to get up until you finish the beer. And then they wouldn't let me finish the beer. They brought pictures. So I ended up doing the CTF that Commander runs at DHA.
I know that. So when I sat for my first one, it was, I got asked to be on a team for the CTF at DerbyCon with a bunch of really great guys, and I'm like, man, I still don't know. Like, and this was at, I don't know, Derby 6 or Derby 7, and if I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna study Nmap, and I'm gonna do this, and blah blah blah. And then I sat down and I realized I have no idea why I'm like what I'm doing here. These guys had been doing this team and their CTF for years, and I was about to get up and I was about to be like, I can't be here. This is embarrassing. Blah blah blah. But then I realized, like, well, you guys need places to write stuff down, right? Like, you guys need since then I've noticed this too. Like when I do a Hack the Box or when I do a Vuln Hub or whatever. I am very much go. I found something. Let me do this. I'm going to do this. And then I realize I can't trace my steps back because I haven't written anything down. I haven't written my steps. I haven't written my workflow. Holy shit. Why was this important? Holy crap. I keep forgetting this is on Gigamon. And so what I ended up doing for the majority of that weekend was being the documentation. I can't think of a good word for it, but the documentation dude.
Person.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I was the scribe. So every time
the documentation goat.
I was about to say documentation goat. And I would write it all down, and we had like an Evernote or a OneNote or something like that. And at first I was like, God, I feel really dumb for doing this. And then I realized A, it was useful, and B, I'm learning because I can go back and read everything that I'm putting down for them and try to piece these together bit by bit. And so that actually helped, and that gave me more confidence for later to actually go and do some of my own stuff and actually sit for other CTFs. And like, even if you're on an open CTF, you don't have to nobody has to know you're doing it. Just be sitting with a laptop and you'll blend in with the hundreds of other people that are doing it. But it all starts somewhere. And then I've filleted myself on the 24-hour stream that I did just doing Hack the Box, still not being good at it. And I'm like, if I just do this and not really care who says what, I'll just feel better about it. And what actually happened was nobody was like, hey, noob, get bent. Like, what are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. It was people like Derek sitting on that stream for like 22 out of those hours and helping me along with stuff. And then it was nothing but encouragement. So yeah, just kind of throw some of that ego out the window a little bit, and the ego part of not feeling okay about doing it, not thinking that you don't know enough, and just sit and do whatever, observe or write or document for people like that. That's how I got to do it.
I was going to suggest too that they're pretty helpful for practical interviews. If people like, that's basically what, if you ever do like a hands-on technical interview at security companies, there'll be little mini puzzles sometimes to solve. But also, I don't know if I heard anyone share, like a lot of security companies do internal CTFs as morale events. So I know that was the case at my last company. It was awesome to see just people who are incredible problem solvers in different domains come together, and it's fun to get to work with other people. There's one going on at my current company right now. So I think they're fairly popular, just to get employees meeting and working with each other and blowing off some steam and things like that.
You know, it's funny, early on when we started talking about all of this and really got this discussion going, we were talking about how do people break into the industry? How do they get into doing what we do, right? You guys really just touched on a major point, right? And to try to pull it all together, right? It's not just provide writing samples. It's not just have a blog. It's not just have a public presence, but getting involved. Okay, getting involved, letting people know that you're there, right? So stepping out of your own comfort zone and trying something new, right? Be the bard if you must, you know. That way you start building a rapport and you're able to show what you can bring to the table. And you never know, somebody may say, hey, this guy's applying with us. I know him, he's great. He, worked on the PVJ CTF with us, right? He didn't do any of the hacking, right? Because his skill level let me rephrase that. Their skill level might not be there, right? But they took time to sit down and write everything out, right? Which means that they have a copy and we're expected them to learn from that experience, right? When you're playing in these games, people know who each other works for, right? And it's a representative faction of that company, right? So if you want to rep a company, if you want to do big things, start small, get involved.
All right, 5 more minutes. Who's got a last word?
Not to deliberately take the last word. No.
No, by all
I was
means.
thinking first CTF I was at was actually, I was very new to the industry, and my university club runs a CTF on their own every year. That's fantastic. I was actually helping run it. I wasn't competing. So I was back then, by hand coordinating the networking and all these VMs. I didn't even know Linux. I was like, oh, what? I type a what? I type a net what? Oh, okay. And how do I exit Vim? All right, we're using Nano. Got it. But the closeout to that, watching everybody go through this, crazy, terrible weekend. Basically, everyone's trying to patch these systems. A bunch of red teamers are attacking them, kind of like CCDC. Just watching all that was definitely humbling, right? But also made me feel a lot better about getting involved. And the closing words ended up being from Raphael Mudge, who wrote Cobalt Strike, fantastic guy. And he did a talk for us that was basically one that he'd done recently at a conference, but finished up by basically saying, hey, I get it. You're new to the field. You've got, challenges and worries and fears, and we all look really intimidating, like we've been doing this since the day we were born. We haven't. We're really glad that you're here, and we need people who can think through challenges, and honestly, just jump in wherever, and we're happy to have you. It's always great to have new people. I know at that time it was still a little bit new for the industry to be exploding in growth, but that doesn't change the fact that we need people who love what they're doing and take time to really get involved in that caring way, right? Like really just enjoy, do it for yourself, do it for other people, but don't be afraid. We do need you here.
That is the perfect thing to end on. Speaking of having kick-ass people around, I'm so happy I had this group of kick-ass people around, and mostly you guys are so good. I just kind of sat here and was doing other graphics things. This was amazing. And listening to,
I'm surprised you didn't put your puppet up and just walk away. I mean, let's be honest. Okay.
I don't have grocery shopping to do, Scott. Oh God, I gotta boot him next time. So for everybody, we are not done yet by a long shot. Coming up next in just about 20 minutes, Mr. Jeff McJunkin himself. Speaking of CTFs, Jeff, who runs the CTF at Sands. Why is the name escaping me? Rook, what's it called?
It's called NetWars.
NetWars.
Wars. I think he just hosts that now.
Oh, really?
He's not actually still at CounterHack.
Okay.
Jeff actually runs his own company now.
Oh, of course he does. Oh, that's right, he does. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff is going to be up next on speaking of how to practice for these things and do it on your own. He's going to be talking about how to build your own kick-ass home lab. So he'll be on in just about 20 minutes. So I want to say thank you to Moose, thank you to Sigil, Mr. Nick Carr, Malware Jake, Rook, Casper, I guess. Josh, who has had to run because he was quite frankly sick of Casper. So thank you.
No, wrong, false. That's wrong.
How do I mute him? Jesus. So thank you to everybody. Hang around. We're gonna do a little intermission, and then everybody in the chat. Thank you for the great conversation. I can't wait to have this to replay for everybody who wants to learn about red teaming and CTF. So thank you, everybody.
The Pros vs. Joes Stay-at-Home CTF is brought to you in part by Red Lion. Red Lion offers information security and compliance professional services that you can depend on to build systems, enable sales, and advance your corporate posture. With MRR and MSP pricing, Red Lion is a trusted source for compliance and security. For more information, visit redlion.io.